So let's talk about it. 1989 says, do you think that the 2K League would have more success if they could implement some of their popular personalities like Chris Smooth, Cash Nasty in like ambassadors or even announcers? I do think that would give them a little bit of a spike. They're not 2K League personalities. They're people associated with 2K. I don't think they should be announcers because they're not good at it. And that's going to be, honestly, they would just hurt themselves by doing that because they would just get a lot of people that hated them because you can't just show up and talk about, oh, I'm a shoutcaster. No, it's a skill. You have to be good at it, and that's not their thing. But I do think there are little spots and things that they could do, appearances and videos that they could post, maybe post a highlight. Like if the 2K League paid Chris Smooth to do their highlights the same way he does the NBA highlights, I think that would help them a lot. I think that would be a really smart move for them. Oh, Fab Splash. I mean, I think that people would start watching it.
Like Shakedown doing a top 10 plays of the week for the 2K League.
I think that would help.
Worth the price of commission.
It is, absolutely. You know what? That's a good pitch. Somebody needs to pitch that on their behalf. And if I can get cut in and get paid for a finder's fee, I might do it.
you found Shakedown?
No, it's the link. It's the link. Sometimes you get paid to be the link, But I think that would help. But I don't think that you don't want them on like every broadcast.
Yeah, them playing it. First of all, they'd make much less money than they make right now, so they're not going to do that.
No, I don't think he meant that. He says if they could implement some of their popular personalities. I think he meant just like similar in the functions that we were just talking about. I don't think.
Okay, yeah, I mean, yeah, like that, it would help. I mean, honestly, anything would help.
Boy, you're a low down dude. Boy, you just kick these people.
I'm trying to help. We have an entire show dedicated to helping the 2K League find its way.
Boy,
how's that negative?
You be kicking people. Take this, sucker. You only got 3,000 views as it is. Eat that, sucker.
I gave him 4,000. You made me look it up.
Man.
And now where are we?
It's nasty out here, boy. I'm trying to tell you. All right. So 1989 also says with Dirk and Wade retiring and looking at the league in this decade, would you say we have the most Hall of Famers or potential Hall of Famers in the league at one time, or has talent kind of been watered down? I think there's a lot of Hall of Famers in the league right now. I think there's a lot of people right now in the league that if they didn't play another game, they didn't take another jump shot, they're already Hall of Famers. Like, I mean, Golden State has 3 of them who don't have to take another shot, and it's automatic, And
I would say 4. I mean, Draymond definitely.
Yeah,
he gets on there. He got a Defensive Player of the Year. So
yeah, he does.
Between Defensive Player of the Year, All-Star, all.
But see, I think you could make a debate against him. You cannot make a debate against Clay, Steph, and KD. There's no logical
I agree
debate
that you can't debate them. I think it's only a debate against Draymond if you say first ballot. Because best defensive player on multiple championship teams should automatically be in. That's no question.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
And he led the team in assists a few of those years too. So
he did.
I think so. Pretty sure.
I know he was
first or second.
I know he was at least second. He was at least second. Yeah. I think he's been second probably every year.
Which again, if a guy is on a championship team and he leads them in defense and assists, are we only rewarding scoring all of a sudden?
No, I don't think it's that. I just think that he is such a modest scorer that usually when you're a scorer as modest as him, you need to have another statistical category where you are truly amazing. And he doesn't really have that. Now, I will give him the 16-17 season, he led the league in steals. That's pretty significant.
Well, again, he has a depoy, and he was the reason that Golden State could be the best defensive team in the league because they could switch everything. And his ability to switch all 5 positions at a very high level was why they were so great. And honestly, the only reason LeBron got the championship that he got off of him. Yeah, he doesn't get suspended, they don't win that series.
Yeah, I agree with that for the most part. I do agree with that.
Yeah, I'm not a big Draymond Green fan.
Yeah.
But I strongly resist any conversation with Draymond Green's not a Hall of Famer, because watching their team, he was an integral part and their defensive leader, unquestionably.
Yeah. Oh, definitely, definitely. And I also
So
think that he is, but I think there's a lot of people in history who had a similar style of a similar stat line, similar list of accomplishments, right? Who are not in or
when you
may
say similar list of accomplishments to the Warriors' level of success, though, because the
that see
Warriors
that
have been
that's where it
dominating
gets
for a long time.
that
That's why I bring it up.
yeah, that no, I'm saying that's where it gets a little bit, that's where it kind of leans more in, leans more towards him, because if you factor in the team success, then it starts to get a little like that. I mean, obviously you have to factor in the team success. You can't leave that out. But I don't know. I still think it's debatable. I still think it's
Well,
debatable.
I'm telling you, I don't like a debate where the best defensive player on a championship team year after year after year doesn't get into the Hall of Fame. I think that is a
Well,
very, very bad direction for us to go, to reward empty scoring so often and not reward championship defense, when especially when it was integral. It's not like he's just a shot blocker. He's a pick and roll switch guy making defensive calls. He's like the Ray Rice of that team throughout their championship run. And
the
also
who?
noted,
The who of that
not I'm
team?
sorry. Not Ray Rice. What's his name? Baltimore Ravens.
He
Why is
is
his
the
name escaping
dude
me?
most likely to punch his wife in the elevator.
Hey, you said that, not me. You out here. This is the second wife beater
You
conversation you just
said
started.
you said Ray
Ray Rice has
Rice.
done other things.
That is funny. Oh no, yeah, no, he's not the Ray Rice. He's not the Ray
No,
Rice.
but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know. I don't. I'm not sure who you're talking about.
Oh my God, I'm talking about. Hold on, Jesus Christ. I don't know why my memory is going crazy.
Ray
Ray
Rice.
Lewis. Jesus Christ.
Okay. Another
Ray
wrong Ray.
Lewis. I don't know why
Another
his
Ray.
last name was escaping me.
Another Ray. Another Ray. Another Ray. I
And the
don't.
funny thing, you know what the funny thing is? I've watched 30, 40, 50 Ray Lewis games.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that much of Ray Rice.
Right.
Like, I haven't
You
watched that much
saw
Ray
enough.
Rice.
He made
Yeah.
an impression on you.
That's not the
Clearly.
video of him that I saw the most. It wasn't him playing football.
Oh my God. But I actually don't think that's a good analogy at all. Ray Rice was the absolute unquestioned superstar of his team. There was nobody on his level. Nobody. Nobody.
No, but in the NBA, whenever someone is the defensive caller, they say like a Ray Rice. So like a
Ray
Kevin
Lewis.
Garnett. Ray
Yeah.
Lewis. I did it again.
Stop
I'm gonna
it.
do it all day.
Stop it.
You know, I did this for 2 years where I called Steph Curry Seth Curry, even
Yeah.
though I had never seen Seth Curry play at the time. I don't know why I did it. It was just a thing I like to do.
Your mama should have
But
named you Seth. I know it.
slow down. I think now you've had too much fun. But yeah, no. If
You
you
told
if you
him his
if you
mama
take
should have
if you
named
take
him Seth.
Draymond Green out the Hall of Fame, I don't trust your basketball IQ. I'm gonna go that hard with it. I think that's
Wow.
ridiculous.
Wow. Well, if you call Ray Lewis Ray Rice, I don't trust your memory.
That's fair. Totally fair. You can challenge my memory anytime you dare. Feel free.
Okay. Let's see. Seeing 1989 says, seeing Melo with CP3, LeBron, and Wade, has Melo fallen into kind of being a bust or one of the most overrated players ever, considering how he was seen on the same level as LeBron? I don't think he was ever really seen on the same level as LeBron. I think he was always the second, thought to be like the second best guy. And then over time, we realized that was actually Wade from that draft. But I definitely think that with the success of LeBron and Wade, and the way that like Chris Paul has aged better than him, even though he doesn't have any championships either. But the fact that he's aged better than Melo, and just in terms of being able to stick on a team, the fact that Melo is like the same age as LeBron, and he literally was out of the league this year because nobody wanted him. Yeah, that's pretty.
I
Yeah.
don't know if that's 100% true. I saw reports that Melo had gotten offers to play on certain teams and didn't want to play on those teams.
Yeah, but I mean, think about. I mean, that's still a if you in comparison to his contemporaries, that that
It's an interesting thing. I do think Melo's overrated first and foremost, but I'm not sure if this year has been fair to Melo because on the court I saw at worst a sixth man, off the bench, 15 to 18 points a game guy, depending on what team and system he goes to. And there are teams that I look at and I'm like, yeah, they could use a Melo. They could use a Melo. I don't know why he was drummed out of the league. Basically, I
yeah,
can't figure that out.
yeah, that's that if that does feel a little
Yeah, it's too fit,
drastic.
and I think Melo's overrated. I do. I think Melo has been considered the best offensive player in the game when he was never close to the best offensive player in the game. I don't think Melo was ever as good as a Kevin Durant. I actually think LeBron James is a better offensive player than Melo. And I think he's way better now. With
Mm.
the healthy with the skill set that he's gotten. But I thought there were a bunch of players who were better offensively than Melo. I thought Melo was more of a
See, this is exactly the point that you're making right now is the same point that I was making about what you were saying about how players were talking about Kobe, right? Because the biggest proponents for Carmelo are players. The people who talk the most and give Melo the most respect are players. They know they don't care anything about the bad shooting percentages they don't care anything about that. Melo gets absolute respect from players, and so that's why I was saying when you were bringing up that about Kobe, I hear you that the players they're giving him this respect. Well, those same guys, that same group, gives Melo almost the same level of respect.
no. They don't give Melo the same. Nobody thinks Melo is better than Kobe
No,
Bryant.
no, 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 no,
No
no,
one
no,
thinks
no,
that.
no, 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 no. I didn't. No, that's not what I'm
Melo's
saying.
not in
No,
anybody's
no,
conversation
no,
for the greatest.
no. That's not what. That's
I
no.
don't think I've ever heard somebody say he's you know, the
I've
person I fear
I've
playing
heard
the most.
I've
I've heard people say he's the toughest person to guard. But
toughest
there's a
guy.
specific reason for that.
That's the same thing that you said about
People have said that
Kobe.
about no, people have said that about Ginobili. There's a difference between saying this is the person I like to face the least, and this is the person I have the toughest to guard. Because when it comes to toughest to guard personally, that has to do with a physical matchup. You know what I'm
But
saying? So
the
with
the
Melo,
point
you're
the
not
point.
saying with Melo, you just say Draymond. I don't feel like dealing with that all day. He's too strong for me. That's the toughest you had to guard. When you say the person you least to face, like you wanted to face the least, that's I got to play this guy tomorrow. Every time I play him, he gives me hell, blah, blah, blah. That's not an individual matchup thing only.
That almost sounds like a two different worded definitions for the same
It's
thing.
not two different word definitions because Kobe says the most difficult player he had to face was Tracy McGrady. He said he was me, but he was taller. But when you ask him who was the toughest player he guarded, he's like Melo is the guy who punished me the most physically. You know what I'm saying? So I think you're taking that, which a lot of people agree with, and conflating it with Kobe, which is all my career, the last person I wanted to see on the schedule was Kobe Bryant. It's two different things. People aren't saying that particularly about Melo.
I guess what my point is, there are players who are singing Melo's praises in some way, shape, or form, right? And I think that you think, and you're saying that you think that Melo is overrated, right? And I said the same thing in some ways about Kobe, not as much as Melo. And I'm not saying that Kobe's not a greater player than Melo. He is by far and away. But what I'm saying is, I bring that point up to say that you cannot always just say or throw that out as a validator that, well, the players say it. The players say a
Well,
lot of things that I
If
don't
Kobe
agree with.
didn't have 5 rings, go to the finals 4 times in a row, and then 3 times in a row, and have all of the accolades that he had, first team, all defensive, Olympic gold medals, all that other stuff, I would agree with you if he didn't have the accomplishments to back it up. Melo doesn't, which is why he's overrated. If Melo had all those things and exactly the same game eye test wise, we would be having a different conversation because he's accomplished so much.
Well,
Melo's
yeah.
accomplished absolutely nothing in his career
Well,
for the relativity of his talent class,
I'm not
which
like
is
I
why
said,
he's overrated.
like I'm saying, I'm not comparing Melo and saying he's as good as Kobe. Again, I'm not saying that. What I'm
You're
saying is
saying he's as bad as Kobe relative to what people think of him.
that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you cannot use player opinions of other players and say use that as a validator to support a point, because they're going to say things all the time that you don't that just because players said it doesn't make it true. So my thing is, we're both saying that Carmelo is not the guy that players seem to, we don't think that he's the guy that players make him out to be. Players talk about Melo in high esteem. I can almost guarantee you that if you went to players in his during his era and said who are the top 5 players in the league, I would almost guarantee you that almost all of them would say he is in the top 5 players in the league
Right now,
during that his whole time, like that during his career.
well,
Like
the
you
thing
were
about
saying,
it
you're
is
saying that you think
during
he's
his
overrated.
career,
You're saying you think
no,
he's overrated.
well, here's the thing. During his career, there are times where that has been a valid opinion. Now, I think that that
Well,
opinion
then
is
how is he
wrong.
overrated then?
Hold on. I think it's wrong, but I don't think it's invalid during his career. You know what I'm saying? When the guy's averaging 25, 26 points, scoring outside, scoring inside, you can't guard his shot. He has an excellent first step and he's stronger than you. I get why they say that. And Carmelo in his prime was an absolute handful. I just think that Kevin Durant is more of a handful. And I think that people took what Carmelo was too far. I think Carmelo is overrated because people said at times that he was the best offensive player in the league, and I never thought that was true. That's specifically why I thought he was overrated. And it wasn't players who were saying that from my from my reference. My reference is people like Stephen A and stuff like that saying it. I'm not saying no player said it. I'm saying reporters and analysts also said they think Carmelo Anthony is the best offensive player in the league. And I think that was their lazy way of describing Carmelo without taking credit away from him, but acknowledging the fact that he don't play no defense. I always thought that Kevin Durant, Kobe Bryant, and later on Steph Curry were better offensive players than Carmelo Anthony. But if you felt that way, I could understand why, because he had versatility. At his height, he had a quick first step and was the strongest player at his position and didn't have terrible hops,
No,
right?
he didn't.
And
He was a handful as an offensive player.
and had an unguardable jump shot. Carmelo was unguardable in his heyday. But I still think I think you can be unguardable and the rest of your game leads up to you being overrated still. So I don't think players are wrong for at the time that he was at his height feeling the way they felt, particularly if they were the ones that had to guard him. But there's more to the game than that, and that panned out with his accomplishments, which is the main thing.
Yeah, I
He
don't know.
never beat those guys. He had the
I,
chance to beat those guys. He never did that.
I don't know that. I always talk about that how that can't really be a apples to apples comparison, because we can't change the fact that Kobe played with Shaq. We just can't. We can't change that. That happened, and that was a humongous reason why he won so much. And so, um,
If Carmelo
there's only one
had
Shaq.
2 championships and a finals loss to the Boston Celtics with the big 3, we would look at him differently. If Shaqless Kobe Bryant is still way better than Carmelo Anthony.
I would like to see. I mean, Gasol-less. I mean,
Carmelo has played with
what
teammates who were as good as Pau Gasol.
who?
He played with Allen Iverson, Chauncey Billups.
Oh, come on, bro. Allen Iverson, the 30-year-old Allen Iverson
Allen Iverson was averaging 25 points per
who
game.
admittedly had an alcohol problem at the time. Admittedly, like dude, their players and referees are saying he's on the court and the alcohol is reeking off of him during the Denver years.
He was averaging 25 points per game.
He was averaging, but we both know
he played with Chauncey Billups.
We both know
Chauncey Billups was excellent at that time.
Chauncey Billups is as good as Pau Gasol.
I think if Kobe Bryant played with Chauncey Billups, the years that he played with Chauncey Billups, he would have had an excellent chance to win a championship. I think Chauncey Billups would have been a phenomenal player to pair with Kobe Bryant. Phenomenal.
And Chauncey was older
If
when he
you
played
give
with
me
Melo.
Chauncey, Kobe, Lamar Odom, and Andrew Bynum instead of Pau Gasol, and you give me some, just some decent forward who's like solid and
They
plays
don't
D and get
win.
a shot,
They don't win.
I think that team gives
They
you
don't
something.
win. They don't win.
I think that team
I
gives you
think
something.
you underselling Powell. I think you're underselling
I'm
Powell.
not underselling Powell. I think Powell is a very, very good player, but to look at Powell and say he's the reason Kobe got
No,
those
no, no,
rings,
no,
like
no, 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 no. I didn't say
it's
that.
crazy.
I never said that. I never said that. I said that that's a big
Like
factor.
when
And
Melo was playing with Amari was beasting in New York. And he did
no,
have some
Amari had
back
already
injuries
hurt himself. He had already
later.
hurt himself, and he wasn't. He
There was
never
a
got.
time they were
He
playing
never
together.
played. He never played with him. He never played with Amari when Amari was that Phoenix Suns Amari. He never played with that guy.
Amari, when he came to New York, was amazing. And there was a time when Carmelo was here that it just wasn't quite working for some reason. And it's because Carmelo's not as good. Again, same thing. If you give me the team with Tyson Chandler and Jason Kidd and Amari Stoudemire, and you just give me Kobe Bryant instead of Carmelo Anthony, they go farther in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I like to see what happens with Melo and Shaq. I'd like to see what happens.
I don't think nothing happened with Melo and Shaq.
I'm not saying it's the same thing.
Everybody wants to put
I like to
Shaq
see.
with every
I
other
like to see.
player.
I like to
Shaq
see.
in his prime only won with Kobe Bryant.
I like to see. I like to see. Well, I mean, Shaq with Miami wasn't
He
his
wasn't in
prime.
his prime.
It wasn't his prime, but he was really good. He was really good.
We all agree that Dwayne Wade's performance was one of the greatest finals performances of all
Absolutely,
time.
absolutely. But that
But
big dude was
nobody
still
want to
down
take
there.
that championship away from Shaq. But
That big dude was still down there.
so let me ask you something. Who was better, Kobe with Shaq or Shaq with Dwayne Wade?
Who was better, Kobe with Shaq or Shaq with Dwayne Wade? I think Dwayne Wade was better. But
No. Who,
no.
in terms of Shaq and Kobe?
Oh, Shaq and Kobe. Wait a minute. Oh, wait. I don't know if I understand what you're saying. Ask it again.
If you compare Shaq and Kobe,
Uh-huh.
Kobe as the second to Shaq,
Yeah.
was he better than Shaq as the second to Dwayne Wade? Who was the better second option, Shaq or Kobe?
who was the better second option? Oh, definitely Kobe.
Thank you.
Definitely. 100%.
Then why is it Shaq got 4 rings? No question. Good job, Shaq. Kobe. Oh,
No,
he didn't play with Shaq though.
I don't think that that's the case. I don't think it's, oh, Shaq got 4 rings, no problem. Give all the credit to Shaq. I don't think that at all. I think that I think Shaq, as great as his career was, it's a little bit of a disappointment because I think it could have been better. I really think it could have been better. But my thing is, it's really hard to quantify playing and winning a championship with that guy, and you're the second option to that guy.
I don't think it's hard to quantify at all when, again, you're using second option as a generic term. But Kobe was making all first defensive teams,
He
scoring
was.
upwards of 26 points, 29
He
points,
was a
5
great player.
assists,
He was a
5
great player.
rebounds. He was the main option in the fourth quarter because of Hack-a-Shaq.
He was a great player.
He was the point of attack against Sacramento and San Antonio several times because of the advantage that he had there. So you keep talking about him like he rode Shaq's coattails. That is absolutely not true.
I'm not talking about him as he rode Shaq's coattails at all. But what I'm
and you
saying
say it
is
like
that
if Shaq
that
can't
guy
lose,
was
like
there.
whoever you put Shaq with, he was gonna win.
Well, at that time, that Shaq, whoever you put Shaq next to, if they were a great player, they probably would have been in the finals.
I don't agree,
dude.
Because they almost lost to Portland.
Portland
lost to Sacramento.
Was a great team.
Exactly. So they had great teams they had to play against. We getting off track here. Is Melo overrated? Yes, Melo's overrated. I don't think that means that he's a bad player or that he's a bust.
I don't think that he's not.
Melo did not adjust his game the way he needed to. What he needed to do was be a bit better of a role player defender and develop a 3-point shot. He didn't do those things. Well, theoretically, there's still time for him to come back and have some David West years.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, but I don't disagree. I was just making a point about using player Uh,
But the point doesn't fly because it
it,
depends on
it
what they're
absolutely
saying
it
and who they're
absolutely
saying it
doesn't
about.
fly. It
I'm not going
absolutely
to throw
flies.
out player opinion. I'm not going to take people who play in the league and say, no matter what you say, your opinion doesn't matter to me at
And
all.
I
There's no data.
I agree. You can't do that. You cannot do that. But you exactly the same reason why it matters. It depends on the person. You threw out Stephen freaking Jackson and Kenyon Martin as people
I
to
still think that
validate what
I
a point.
first of all, I don't think Kobe Bryant needs validation, but I think Steven Jackson and Kenyon Martin. The thing that I like about those guys is that they're competitors and they are guys who are known for being honest. Now they can still be wrong.
Yeah,
That's the thing. You can
yeah,
debate that they're wrong,
yeah.
but it's valid that they feel the way they feel. Then you can analyze
Well,
those feelings and
that's
what they've been through.
anybody. That's anybody in
No,
the
because
world.
sometimes it's not valid. Sometimes, like for instance, Paul Pierce thinking he better than Dwayne Wade. That's not valid.
Well, Paul Pierce, like I said, I don't agree with him, but I think he has every right to say that.
But we
I don't
all
agree with
agree
him.
that he's saying it only because of his ego, because he has great player ego. Where it's like I'm not gonna give some guy that credit. I have to
I
believe that if
I
because
think
he's
he
talking
actually
specifically,
believes
he's
it.
talking about himself.
I think he believes it.
It's like listening to Isaiah Thomas talk about Michael Jordan. Nobody trusts him in a Michael Jordan debate. We don't trust you,
I
right?
think
And see, yeah,
I think Paul Pierce believes that. Like, I think he's wrong, but I
but
think he
he's
truly
talking
believes it.
because he's talking about himself, so we know that he's extremely biased, so we take it differently than if he was talking about something completely unrelated to himself.
Uh,
Same thing with Isaiah and Michael Jordan. Y'all hate each other. Y'all had a nasty feud. So when you talk about Michael versus LeBron and Kareem and Kobe, I'm not trusting your word because I know where your bias comes from. I'm not throwing player opinions out for no reason. I'm evaluating it based on the individual cases.
yeah, I think it definitely does come as a case by case situation for sure. So, all right, Animals, which is my man, everything pro wrestling. He says, "Please give me your thoughts." I'm sure you probably did not see this, Nelson. So I'll carry the mail on this one. He says, "Please give me your thoughts on that horrible 2K $1 million challenge from WWE Games. Will this work again, or is the community burned? Rumor has it the guy has done work with WWE." Okay, so the guy is a like he calls himself the Golden Voice. He is a like a ring announcer, but he's worked at like at WWE Access events or something like that. He's never actually did like real live WWE events, but he won a challenge where he played like well, you had to beat the game on a certain level to even be eligible for it. And then after he beat the game, you have to cut a promo video because you have to kind of look the part as well and sell yourself, right? So he did that, and then he advanced on, and we had to beat two guys in order to become like the $1 million challenger for AJ Styles. So then he got a chance to play AJ Styles in the game. He wins. If he wins the match, he wins $1 million. Obviously, AJ Styles is not that good at the game. He's a professional wrestler on the road 260 days a year. So he destroys AJ Styles. So the dude has a huge personality. He is a wrestling dude. Like, I mean, so he's literally sitting there cutting promos, like he's doing it all, right? And he was annoying a lot of the crowd. They booed him and stuff. But I took it a whole different way. I took it as proof that if the WWE, if 2K were to really take a strong look at their game and to maybe take a year off and say, which is not going to happen, but to try to balance the game in a way that made it really competitive. Doesn't have to be realistic. It just needs to be competitive, right? If they were to do that, I think that this situation proved that they could launch an esport that is different than every other esport out there. Because when you try to incorporate the different things about professional wrestling with the drama and the mic work and all of that, nothing like that really exists in esports as a part of the winning losing dynamic. You know, like no your personality is rewarded in esports from an intangible type of a standpoint, but there isn't anything that where you're like in professional wrestling, your popularity directly results into increases in money everything. I think that they could craft an esport out of what they have in terms of using professional wrestling. But the biggest thing, and this is a huge thing, you got to balance the game and make it a competitive game where there's a skill gap and that sort of thing. But I think this should be really motivation for that type of thing, because you could put on an esports WWE 2K pay-per-view show with the right type of personalities. Because one of the biggest things wrong with the NBA 2K league, none of those guys really know how to sell themselves or do any type of branding. None of them do. They all need help with that. They don't know how to do that. But if you're talking about wrestling guys who are required to cut promos and do all that kind of stuff, they're going to make themselves stars. And if they're good at the game as well, if your matches literally look like if it's like I'm looking at a virtual WrestleMania, and then I got these guys talking and set, I think that there's something there that can be explored. So I didn't look at it as a dumpster fire like a lot of other people did. You have nothing to say on that, I guess.
No. I'll let you take it. I trust you. I trust your word on that one. I think WWE 2K is very, very far from being a spectator sport.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a lot of people who tune in, man, to watch people run virtual WWE universes. Like, there's people who run virtual WWE universes, and they have a group of people who play different roles and things like that.
Define a lot of people.
Into the tens, thousands, and if you think about it, because it's not anything that's being pushed, and it doesn't have any really, there's no real support for it from anybody that has like a lot of money.
Do they tune in for the storytelling, or do they tune in for the competition?
Both. And to me, that's why it would be unique, because when I'm in a chat for one of those types of things, you see people saying the same thing, and honestly, I don't even think it necessarily matters why they're tuning in. It's just the testing to find out if they do and if they will. So I don't know, because there's actually one particular guy, I can't remember his name, but WWE 2K actually post his episodes on their Twitter account, so whenever it drops, and because he does it live too, which is crazy, but every time he does it, they post it and he gets tons of push, but it's not really being pushed like it could be if the WWE was behind it and Take-Two was behind it. So
if I speak anymore, we're going to get into a 2-hour esports debate, and I'm not going to do it.
Well,
I'll just let you rock.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Sometimes you got to do that.
But for the thing I want to take, because sometimes you like to go back on your statements. You said it doesn't matter why people are tuning in. I'm gonna hold that, pin that to the wall for later.
Yeah, I don't go back on my statements. I think sometimes here's that.
You said DAngelo Russell wasn't a needle mover. I brought that up a week later. You said, did I say that?
What?
See, you did it again.
No, I think this is your Ray Rice memory.
Okay. So when I find the footage, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when I find the footage?
I think when you find the footage, I think that what's gonna happen is you're gonna realize that it's not what you said it was, and then you're gonna try to change it in mid-sentence to something else to support.
DAngelo Russell was not a needle mover. Quote Brian Mazique.
Okay, I'm not saying that I didn't say that, but when did I go back on
what? Something? Wait, what? Because you said later on. Did I say that? That was like last week. You said that.
No, I mean, I don't even remember that DAngelo Russell's not a needle mover. In what context?
You said it. I don't know what the context was. We were bringing up players. I said DAngelo Russell, and you said, well, he's not a needle mover.
I would have to know what context it was. I would have to, because I can't. I would have to know what context it is. I can't just say one way or the other.
It sounded like you meant in terms of wins.
Like I said, I have to know what context. I mean, and it depends on when I said it too. I don't even know when I said it.
Okay.
I don't know.
But I'm pinning that to the wall. Your
Well,
esport, it doesn't matter why people are tuning in. Okay.
yeah, it doesn't. I mean, if people are watching, they're watching. Just like
I think the opposite. I think not knowing why people are watching your game is one of the
well, I
main
think.
reasons that people fail.
See, I didn't say not. See how you take. See, you twist stuff. I didn't say not knowing is not important. I said as long as they are watching, it doesn't matter why they're watching. That's two completely different things. See
I asked
that
you why they're watching. You said it doesn't matter.
right? It doesn't. No, you say are they watching because of the stories or are they watching because of the gameplay?
Right.
And I say it doesn't matter why. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter which
If you're
one.
creating an
It
esport,
doesn't
it
matter
matters a
which
lot.
one. It doesn't matter which one. If you're giving them what they need, it doesn't matter. If
Because
you're
the
giving them
esport,
what they want, it doesn't matter.
you can't control the storytelling in the esport. You can control the competition. The storytelling happens organically out of the competition, just like in sports.
I mean that I don't think that's that I don't. You say that does I don't see how. I mean, what does that mean though? Why does that disprove anything that I said?
Because if people are tuning into a game because they like watching the storytelling presented in the game,
Hmm.
then you produce storytelling content. Competition is not reliable for storytelling content. Even though great storytelling can come out of competition,
Hmm.
it doesn't always. And the main consistent line is the level of competition. So your point about balancing would be absolutely true if people are tuning in for competition, because the better you make the competition, the more you stabilize your viewers. But if you have a viewer base that doesn't care so much about the competition as long as they're getting a level of storytelling. So a comparison I would make is sometimes viewers watch games just because either the commentators or the person presenting the game is funny. It's like, say, Shakedown or Chris Smooth doing My Career, right? That's not an indicator of 2K's ability to have an esport, because without the humor and storytelling presented by both those figures, those personalities, and the mode itself, you don't know how many viewers you're bringing over. And in the case of 2K, which is a fairly non-competitive game comparatively to other esports, but is a high viewage storytelling game, they're not translating, anything but a fraction of a percentile of their viewers.
I think that the thing is that what my statement was based on is if they're already watching, right? So if you got 50,000 people watching, and that's what your success number is. If they're already watching, and this is where my statement came from. If they're already watching, you're asking me, well, why are these 50,000 people watching? So then my retort to that is it doesn't matter why they're watching. 50,000 people are watching and they're watching consistently. I don't care if they're watching because, oh, I really think the skill gap here is just so absolutely satisfactory for my esports requirements. It doesn't matter if that's why they're watching. If they're watching because you know what? This the wrestling in here is kind of good, but I really love hearing these guys cut these promos in between the matches. It doesn't matter. That's what I mean. It doesn't matter because if us under the assumption that I was speaking on is that the viewers are already there, so it
But it matters
doesn't
for the
matter.
esport, though.
Who cares about the freaking esport if the 50,000 people are there?
Was you because you said you think it has potential as an esport? You brought up the esport.
Right, exactly. So it does. You're talking about the quality of the
No, I'm
esport
talking about
in
them
terms of the
getting
camp,
viewers.
the comp, but the viewers are there. The 50 that we already established
But
in this hypothetical, the 50,000 are there. If that's
but
what you need,
but they're not. But no, because in that hypothetical, all of the people who watch any NBA 2K content should be available for the 2K League, but they're not, because they're not watching for the same reason that the 2K League is built around. So if I have a WWE 2K esport and I have viewers, I need to know how many of those viewers I'm going to retain when I organize the esport.
but no, that's not the same thing. It's not an apples to apples comparison because you're talking about a segmented product in NBA 2K. because it has so many different modes. So you and some people just simply are not interested in pro-am style game. They're just not interested in that. But that's not what a WWE 2K esport would be. It's not a segmented product that you can draw that
Well, I'll give
comparison
you a
on.
more direct example. There's a YouTuber with 1 million views named Maximilian. He started out in the fighting game community. He still does a lot of fighting game content. People watch Maximilian because of his personality. So Maximilian can do an entire week, and it's actually a show that he does, a week of a certain game, and that week will be, anywhere from hundreds of thousands to maybe almost 1 million views, right?
Mhm.
Of that game. The creators of that game will not retain a single percentage of Maximilian's viewer base, even though Maximilian it's a fighting game. So if fighting was happening, people were watching the fighting. He might have even been talking about learning the characters and fighting game mechanics, things that ostensibly should all translate to the esport. But so you from game to game to game, each game has a different level of benefit that they would gain from Maximilian based on how accurately they're able to analyze why people are watching that particular segment. That's actually the most important thing to them when they create new content, because the new content's not going to be exactly the same if it's an esport, because you have to have competitive rules and prizes and you know
No,
all the stuff and
I
programming and the stuff that makes an esport.
I don't think that's an accurate comparison either. But this is just going down the same thing with the whole esport thing. You look at it totally different because you are a purist in that,
I'm
and
just
because
accurate.
no, you're so not accurate because essentially you change the rules as the conversation goes on to
How am I changing the rules?
whatever is going to fit your narrative is how you flip it. But it's not, and then you make definitive statements at the end of an argument, and you deem it over by making a affirming statement, but you be wrong as hell.
What
So
what
it's not. It ain't it.
what am
That
I
ain't
wrong
it.
about here?
That's not it. Because that comparison that you just made is not the same. It's not the same. You talking about one guy who is an entertaining guy who is is playing one game, and he plays this game, and the game could suck, right? But they're watching it for him. So after he gets done, nobody still is interested in the sucky game because they were really just watching it for Maximilian. That's not the same thing, because
Some of the games he plays are great.
you know what the constant is? The constant is Maximilian. So with the WWE 2K situation, what would be the constant? The constant is whatever it is there. What is the product itself? The product's not changing because people are watching for the wrestling, or they're watching for the commentary, or they're watching for the promos. My statement from the very beginning is that it does not matter why the 50,000 is there. It just matters that they're there. You're saying it does matter. You need them to be there for the esport.
No, I'm saying you need to know. I'm saying it matters why they're there. If you want to create an esport out of it, then yeah, then the matter is relevant to your esport needs, whatever your esport needs are. If they're there because they just like hearing people talk over wrestling matches, they don't care who wins or who loses as long as the story goes on. You can create a product, but it won't be an esport.
But again, again, we're going into your personal definition of an esport, and you're
I don't. I'm
stating
not. I don't make it.
your
I don't
your
make up the
state.
definition of esports.
A lot of people have different definitions for an esport. There are a lot of people who say that they will use the label esport differently than you will. There's
Are they?
people.
Are they being accurate?
It's that's an opinion, because the esport is still an evolving term. So it's just like me saying what's hip hop and what's not hip hop. I might think one particular artist dude, that ain't hip hop. We used to say that all the time in high school. We used to say that all the time, dude. Oh man, that's this guy. He ain't hip hop. You can't
It's more like when you delineate the difference between rap and poetry. Poetry has a hard definition, and rap as a music form has a hard definition. And where you separate that has a historical reference to rely upon.
But do you
Esports,
realize that not every person would agree with that statement? But you'll say that well,
well,
they're
they
not
won't agree
accurate.
where the lines lie, but the lines are established. What I'm asking you about the esport, what definition besides video game competition do you have for esports?
Say that again.
What definition besides video game competition do you have for esports?
Esports, in my definition, is that it is a competition that is conducted on a video game, which is a
That people watch, of course,
that
right?
people. I mean, even I don't know there's a definition that says there has to be a requisite amount of viewers.
But they have to be viewers.
It's a spectator sport. Yes, it's
Because if me and you play Street Fighter together, it's not an esport. If me and you organize a prize pool and people watch us play, then it is an esport.
and people watch us play. Yeah, so it has to have an audience. Yes, for sure.
Right. So we agree on the definition of the esport.
Right. I mean,
So
I suppose in that sense,
if
sense,
people
yeah.
are watching, this is hypothetical, but if people are watching something because of its glorified my career qualities, its glorified creator league qualities, I'm not saying that this is what you're saying. I'm just saying hypothetically, but it also has a competitive element, and you try to make an esport out of it, that esport's going to fail because people only want to watch the story. They don't care about watching people compete. They just want to watch you play make believe.
But see, I guess the whole point is what I'm saying is we're already past that, right? In this hypothetical, we're already past that. The hypothetical that was presented is that the people are already there. The retention is already there.
What are
That
they watching though? Is this a tournament with like prize money and stuff?
they're watching it has to be unique for the WWE. So it's a whole season essentially that runs just like the WWE. Everything leads up to WrestleMania. Each one of the pay-per-views are arranged almost like a tournament. And my whole point is that this is extremely unique. And that was my point initially, is that it can create a unique take on esports that doesn't really exist. The competitiveness is still there, but the arrangements, the way the tournaments are set up, there would only be some tournaments here or there. But the way all of this whole structure is set up is different than everything that's out there, which was my point initially. But yes, you go through. So the pay-per-views are these major, are the equivalent of almost tournaments, even though it might not function in a tournament format. But is the equivalent of that. It's a major event that people are watching the same way with the equivalents of the Raw and the SmackDowns. But the on top of that, you have like a competition that is based on the way people present or cut their own promos. And that competition is judged by the audience feedback. The audience, how much people, because people are literally choosing which characters they're a fan of, the same way they do in regular wrestling, in actually professional wrestling. So I am I'm an outside the box thinker. I don't, I like to create different layers.
Outside the dictionary.
Yeah, well, the Nelsonary. I'm probably outside the Nelsonary.
I mean, we all know what a sport is. A sport is hardcore winner and loser, and that's in fact that's why I always look at the MVP thing as like I feel kind of funny about the MVP award because it's not really competitive. It's left up to people's subjective judgment, and I look at that very differently than something people actually earned, as
see,
in
I think
you couldn't take it away from them.
I think the thing of it is, is that you you throw out these things as if they are absolute, but they are really your opinion.
You agreed with my opinion on what the definition of an esport was.
In that sense, yes, but it's not. I'm not willing to put the shackles on the concept in the way. Oh, because you're in a sense, if something doesn't hit this little line of that, oh, that's not an esport. Like you are the biggest esports snob I've ever seen in my life.
I'm not a snob. I'm just
you are the biggest esports snob. You will turn your nose up and say,
no. It's not about
esport.
Here's the thing. It's not about whether I like it or not. It's not about whether I think it's great or not, or whether I think it can be successful or not. What it is when you have an esport, and that's your definition, there are models of success that you can rely upon based on the models of success of all competition, right? People didn't invent this stuff with esports.
Well, a
It's
lot of people don't think that professional wrestling itself is competitive. They don't.
well, it's not a sport.
It's not a sport. It's not a
A
sport.
dance contest is competitive, but it's not a sport.
Professional wrestling is not a sport because the outcomes are already determined. They're scripted outcomes. Okay. The outcomes of this, what I'm talking about, is not already predetermined.
Well, here's the thing with wrestling. The outcome is not the win and loss of the match, right? The outcome is really who gets pushed and who doesn't. And the reason that that is competitive but not some kind of weird personality sport is because no matter how well someone does, if Vince McMahon doesn't like them, he can just turn the light off on them.
Yeah, that's true.
It's and no one can do anything about it. There's no competitive standard stopping judgment, opinion, and personality from taking over. That's why wrestling's not truly competitive. There's a competitive aspect to it because you're fighting for the crowd and all that stuff. But it's not truly competitive because there's an arbiter who can come in without breaking the rules of WWE and cancel the competition in favor of what he wants.
Yeah, but we only, I mean, the professional wrestling is not just the WWE. There's other, so he
Yeah, but that
doesn't.
can happen in any professional
Yeah,
wrestling league.
in any professional promotion, if you don't get a push, you will never reach your true level of popularity. But to me, that's why my concept is one that is so unique, I feel, and it has a way that it could work because you're implementing elements of all of these different things: traditional competitions, traditional tournament competitions, as well as the kind of just the drama aspects of professional wrestling. And you're creating a competition in several different layers and several different places. So but this is probably not anything for a traditional hardcore esports person. But I don't think that's because that's the case that that it should be, you should have to divorce from the term, period. I don't think anybody owns the term where they can slap a label on and off of what is and isn't esports. you know i, I think honestly that's a very limiting type of a way of thought for the overall industry, period. There's a lot of sports that initially, or a lot of games that weren't initially accepted into the East, and some games still. I mean, like, some people think Call of Duty is trash. Like, some people think it's just, they think it's
But
trash.
you're arguing quality. I'm arguing definition, and the reason I'm arguing
Well, I've heard
definition.
people say that about Call of Duty too, because they, just the shooting is not as on point as it is in some of the other games. Well, not so much Black Ops 4, but in the previous ones.
Right, but
You know.
but I can debunk that argument though, because
Mhm.
the way you debunk that argument is the rules of competition decide the winner and the loser. So you can say you don't like those rules, you can
Mhm.
say those rules are trash, but it still qualifies if enough people are watching these people compete and
Mhm.
nothing besides their skill is
Mhm.
deciding who's the winner and the loser. So it
Exactly.
gets counted as a sport.
Exactly.
I'm not defining that. That's the definition as it is.
And I don't think that there's any reason why those elements can't exist in the WWE 2K scenario and interpretation of it. I don't see
Well,
why.
like I said, I think they're very, very far from that now.
I think
But
so
what I'm
from a
saying
game
is,
standpoint, yes.
if people are watching WWE content and they're not watching for the competitive aspect predominantly, then that means that when they create an esport, they have to factor that in order to figure out how they can get as much of that audience watching their stuff. It might be a big number, it might be a small number. It depends on the specifics of the thing. It definitely matters though.
Mm. Yep. I don't agree that you have to know why. That's my thing. You don't have to. Well, I shouldn't say you don't have to know why, because you need to know why so that you can keep doing it. I just don't agree that it has to be heavily slanted in favor of the esports faction.
I didn't say what it had
Yeah,
to be. I just said
yeah,
you had to know.
yeah. Because you got to be
I
able to
said
keep
you
doing
had
it.
to know, and I said it matters. It
Because you got to be
matters
able to
what
keep
the
doing it.
answer is when you find the answer out. And again, as a guy who works in entertainment, I can tell you some of the most money spent is finding out why people are watching.
Yeah,
Like
I
that's
mean,
mostly what people
yeah.
care about.
No, I'm not saying you don't need to. Like you need to know so that you can keep doing it. I'm saying it doesn't matter if the audience is more there for the story than they are for the competition. I don't think that matters.
Well, and it matters if your goal is to create programming or if your goal is to create a sport. Because the problem is when people are really into programming and you bring competitiveness into it, that sometimes drives a lot of audience out of it. So contrary to what you're saying about me being like the esports guy who wants everything to be an esport, no. If something works better as not an esport, I'm all for it moving in that direction.
Okay, they tired of us talking about this
All
WWE.
right, yeah, let's hear playoff talk. He right. He
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
I told you we was going to get into this, but you was stubborn. You just
I
wanted to hear it.
I just I
I
had
tried
to.
to let you go. He just
I
had to keep saying something.
no I you
I
know
tried. I sat here silent, and he was just like, Nelson, got something to say? What you got? You just
hey
gonna let it go with that?
I don't want to, I don't want to just control the world. I want the people to participate even if they're wrong, you know.
I want you to be able to sit here and make up your fantasy programs that's never gonna exist to your heart's content.
Yes, yes,
I think the people like it.
I think they do too because this world is
But
made and this world is spun by
but
dreamers.
when people want real information about esports, that's the
Yeah,
benefit
they
of
got to
having
call
me here to
Nelson
help you
because
out.
when you look up esports in the dictionary, in the Nelsonary, Nelson's sitting there with his shirt off and a chest tattoo that says Overwatch. So that's just what it is. That's just what
You
it
you
is.
rely on jokes when you're beaten. I understand. I like it. I appreciate that
No,
about your
no, no,
personality.
no, no. I just respond to jokes when they are given. You want to talk about each fantasy programs that ain't never going to exist. Say now that's an apples to apples comparison. So, but so that we don't have a 4-hour show, which is what
Because where are we going right now?
so that we don't have that. I think so. Are we getting into playoff talk right now?
Yeah, we should probably call some matchups, right?
Yeah. Okay. 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 All
Playoffs
right.
super interesting. The way the playoffs have shaken out is actually really, really interesting, and has completely changed the fates of a lot of teams. I think, or the potential fates of a lot of teams.
Yeah. Yeah. I think because when we did this before, some of the matchups have changed since.
Yeah, the playoffs
So
were literally not decided until the last game of this season, which is
right,
crazy.
right. So right about now
Let's
we
do
got
East first.
East first. Bucks, Pistons, Bucks in 4.
Yeah.
um,
Pistons might get one because Blake Griffin is actually playing really, really well, and
yeah,
he might win them a game if his leg is okay.
yeah.
He's got a pretty bad leg injury right now. He's wearing a bionic leg
I'll
out there.
buy.
Have you seen it? Dude, he look like
Yeah,
he wearing a styrofoam cup.
yeah. He looked like somebody went too far with their creative player.
But yeah, I got you. Bucks in 5 or less.
Okay.
Toronto and Orlando. Now, see, this is interesting because Orlando
Uh-huh.
has been playing
Really
like
good.
fantastic
Yeah, really good.
since like about the All-Star break or something like that. For that reason, Orlando and Brooklyn are interesting because they both started out way worse than where they wound up, like in an abnormal way.
Yeah, yeah. I still think Raptors in 5.
I want to say Raptors in 5 too, but I want to give Orlando the credit
You should
of
say it.
saying
You should just say
Raptors in 6.
it.
I want to, you know what? I want to believe. I want to believe
It's
that they're turning into a good team.
Yeah, I mean, well, they don't have to be a good team to beat the Orlando Magic in 5. I think if Orlando Magic first of all, the fact that they're in the playoffs is a huge win for them. Second of all, if they get a game against the Raptors in the playoffs, a 58 win team, I think that's a solid season for them to build on going into next year. So
Yeah.
I think we're definitely giving them their due if they lose in 5. So that's just me.
That's
Um,
fair.
the 76ers against the Nets. I have the Sixers in 7.
That's an interesting one because Joel Embiid's health is really shaky.
Oh,
The
and they can't win without
Sixers,
him.
the Sixers are very top heavy. They've
Hmm.
basically got 5, 6 players,
Hmm.
and I mean Boban's pretty good, but then after that though they're really shallow, and the Nets have a lot of depth at the guard position where the
Hmm.
Sixers are particularly shallow. They got JJ Redick and Jimmy Butler, and that's it basically.
Hmm.
So yeah, and then you got TJ McConnell trying to deal with either DAngelo Russell or Spencer Dinwiddie or Karis LeVert. Is like that's interesting because the thing about the Nets for me is they're a knockout punch team where they shoot a lot of threes. They play really hard. They play really intelligently. So the Sixers, I mean, on paper the Sixers should win in 5, but I wouldn't be surprised if that was a long series.
Yeah, I think at 7. The Celtics and the Pacers, I got Celtics in 7. That matchup didn't change. That one was there. I think that might be the only
Yeah,
one that didn't change.
that's the only one that didn't change.
Yeah.
I got Celtics in 6.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. I think Indiana pushes them, and then Kyrie goes nuts in Game 7. I got the
The
Warriors.
key for the Celtics is Gordon Hayward looks
Oh,
like he's rounding
he
into
is.
health.
He is looking really
And
good.
credit to this show, we've been supporting Hayward all
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
He's been getting beat down in the media for
Hmm.
having a broken leg last year. I don't know what else he's done wrong to these people,
Yeah.
but he's on the normal trajectory for a guy recovering from a severe leg injury.
Yep.
He's not been disappointing. He doesn't look washed up. He looks like he's getting his legs back.
You know what it is?
And what's that?
It's eSports.
You're not a very mature man, Brian.
Oh God, help me! Help me!
Why are you so
Lord.
salty? Why are you so salty? You want me to let you redefine esports? I'm not gonna let you do it. All right, let's
Oh
go to
my
the
God.
West Coast.
Okay, you're right. You're right. You know what? That is absolutely correct. I do. I would like you to let me redefine esports. That's what I
Yeah,
would like.
and show it. Don't talk about it. Be about it. You
Yeah.
make a successful esport that looks nothing like any other esport ever, and I'd be like, Brian, you did it.
Now, all you got to
Way to
do,
go, LaRusso.
all you got to do is get me some money, and then I could do it.
Hey, look, man, I'm not here to hand out to you the tools you need to succeed. But as it is, you have to live in the real world, not the one in your head. So that's where
Well,
we are.
see, no, you make the one in your head real. That's what you do.
That's what I'm telling you to do.
All
I ain't
right.
saying you can't do it. I'm just saying do it.
All right.
Then you
I'm
went out
gonna.
here and asked me for money.
I did. Hey, you gotta. You know, you gotta ask.
No, why would
But
I give you money?
where?
I give you no money and I'm still right. If I give you money, maybe I'm wrong. I like where I am.
No, that I
I'm
don't
like,
like
I'm like Israel Adesanya.
that's very selfish. All right. So, Golden State against the Clippers.
Yeah, it's Golden
Um,
State in 4.
yes, absolutely, 100%, 100%. We got the Nuggets against the Spurs. I have the Spurs in 7.
So do I. And the funny thing is, it's not because I think the Nuggets are bad. I
Right.
just think this is out of all of the teams they could have gotten from 6 down.
Yep.
This is even I would say 5 down. This is
Hmm.
the last team they wanted to see.
Yeah. And if you think about it like this: one of the Nuggets are the number 2, and the Spurs are the number 7, right? But they're only 6 games apart in the standings.
Right. Which
So
is not that's
we're
then matchups matter at
right.
that point.
We're not talking about, this is not a normal 2-7. So,
No.
it's not. So, yeah. So
Yeah.
then we got Portland against the Oklahoma City Thunder. I got the Thunder in 6. Now, if Nurkic hadn't hurt himself, I might have something different. But I can see Steven Adams dominating this series with offensive rebounds and limiting Portland to one shot a lot.
Yeah, I think rebounding could be a serious issue for them. Even though Enes Kanter is a good rebounder,
Yeah,
but
he's just a
he's
bad
a
defender.
terrible defender. terrible defender, and he's going to be in the pick and roll with Westbrook and Adams a lot.
Yes.
So here's the thing about OKC. The stories on OKC have been a little weird. First of all, people are talking about they're entering the playoffs off of a downward spiral. They actually won 5 in a row, and they're
5
7-3
games
in
in
their
a row,
last
so
10.
I don't know what people are smoking.
Yeah, and literally, I think every analyst said that today, which is ridiculous. The story has also been that the problem is Westbrook is really up and down. He's been terrible. Actually, Westbrook has been pretty fantastic since the All-Star break. Paul George got hurt.
And how can somebody who's averaged a triple-double for the 3rd year in a row be playing horrible?
That's fair question, Brian. But if you his percentages, his shooting percentages,
but
but
horrible. The
here's the
word
thing, though.
horrible.
Yeah, before the All-Star break, he had a lot of alarming shooting percentages. But after the All-Star break, he's been pretty much Westbrook again. His pull-up jumper hasn't been as consistent as it was last year and the year before, but his post-up game is way better, and he's been distributing the ball better and making better decisions overall. And he has some teammates that are hitting better shots.
Yeah, and
so when it comes to,
I was going to say the last 2 months, he's shooting about 32% from 3-point range, which is about Westbrook.
Right, and he's shooting them in clutch moments too.
Yeah,
so
the free throws are still bad though.
The free throws are bad, but they've been up and down rather than just horrible. There's been times where he has come through for them and looked like old Westbrook from the free throw line. So that's a you don't know what you're going to get situation. The thing about it is, in terms of you don't know what you're going to get, is really Paul George. Will he get enough rest to be healthy? Because even when he's played well, he's not playing as well as he was before the All-Star break. So, like if you watch the games, you can see, okay, he's driving to the basket fine, but his shot is just not the same. He's clearly dealing with some issues in the upper body. So if he's healthy, Portland is at a severe disadvantage. If he's not healthy, then Oklahoma City is going to really feel the fact that they lost Alex Abrinas, because that's another reason that they're not performing as well, because they didn't have shooting to lose. And Alex Abrinas got dismissed for the team for, I don't know. I mean, he probably slapped somebody he shouldn't have slapped. I don't know what he did, but he's off the team. And they're relying on Terrence Ferguson to hit shots consistently. And if Paul George ain't hitting shots, they just don't have enough shooting. So they could get shot out of the series if Paul George is not healthy. But if he is healthy, then they should win it in 6.
Yeah, I got them winning in 6. I think that I just think that on the inside, I think is where we're going to see Portland really suffer. And I think that's it. I mean, Paul's 3-point shooting is down a little bit over the last 2 months, but it's still about 35%, which is,
he was up in the high 40s before.
He was in the 40s for the middle 2 months of the season, and he's dropped down. But I still think if he's knocking them down at that clip with everything else that he brings, he's still okay.
Well, here's the issue specifically. He goes through periods where when he's cold and Westbrook is on the bench, if he has one of them 4 for 12 nights, that's the run that other teams are making. That's putting OKC in these close games where they're losing by 3 and 4 and 5 points at the end. And so when he was playing well, him and Schroeder on that second unit was like playing another playoff team. But now it's more like playing a bubble playoff team. So he needs to be Paul George when Westbrook sits down. That's the change he has to make. It's not about his overall percentages. He can survive his cold streaks when Westbrook or Schroeder are on the floor hitting shots. But when he's the leader of the team, he can't be my shoulder sucks Paul Pierce. He has to be closer to what he was in the middle of the season. To beat Portland, who's going to make shots.
Yeah, I think I feel confident that he'll be okay. I think he'll be fine, unless he further injures himself. But in the state that he's currently in, I think he'll be okay, and I think they'll be okay. All right, so the last series of the year, of the Western Conference playoffs is the Houston Rockets against the Utah Jazz. I have the Rockets in 5.
Same here. Man, this is annoying. Our picks are all the same.
I know.
It is what it is. Yeah, Rockets in 5. First of all, I think Houston is very good right now.
Yes.
They're a different team than what we were judging early on. Part of it, to credit to him, is Harden. Harden is one of the best offensive weapons in the history of the NBA,
He is.
and he's really feeling himself right now. Chris Paul has been allowed to round back into shape and become part of that team. They have more depth. Fareed is playing well for them. So they've added to that team, and since Bizdelic has come back, they've been, and then obviously Clint Capella came back a while ago, and he's consistently been doing his thing. So, and having Fareed come off I actually think they're better than last year
Hmm.
right now.
Hmm.
I don't think they've been better all year,
Hmm.
but Harden's better. They have Fareed. They have Austin Rivers. Chris Paul's healthy and has had a lot of rest. I think currently they are better than they were last year, and they've also got those scattered bodies around in there too.
Hmm.
Your Gerald Greens and stuff like that. So I think
James
Houston is deep.
James Ennis, yeah.
Ennis, exactly. He'll come pop up and just throw 16 points at you for no reason. So I think they have fixed the we lost Ariza problem.
Hmm.
I think Fareed is a significant addition. So is Austin Rivers. Austin Rivers doesn't always have to be great. Austin Rivers just has to be solid defensively and give, them that extra playmaker,
Yeah.
from time to time. And because Harden and Chris Paul are so usage heavy, they so ball dominant. Um, a little bit of good play from another guy matters a lot. So yeah, I got them at 5,
Yeah.
and I think going forward, there's some really interesting matchups because Houston would have to face Golden State in the second round, and Oklahoma City is going to get. They're not going to have to face Houston or Golden State in the second round. So now you're in a situation where it's like, if OKC is at their best, they can wind up in the conference finals, which would be great for them.
Yeah. I think we're definitely looking at Golden State and Houston in the second round, which is crazy. And
If that doesn't happen, one of those teams messed up real bad. I mean, obviously, it's not going to be Golden State because the Clippers just
yeah,
mathematically cannot beat Golden State
yeah,
unless a series of injuries happens,
yeah.
which obviously none of us want to
But
see.
Oklahoma City and San Antonio is a pretty interesting second round matchup.
I think Oklahoma City beats that team.
I think
Russell
they do
Westbrook
too.
is in a small group of players that Greg Popovich
Can't he?
struggles
He
severe.
can't do nothing with.
Can't deal with him.
It's very similar to what you were talking about with Kobe. Um, he has Popovich seems to struggle with perimeters, attacking relentlessly attacking perimeter players, and
I
that's
think what it
exactly what
is,
Kobe was.
if Popovich had his full lineup, maybe he'd have a chance because
Yeah, because he got big defenders.
yeah, and they're athletic, right?
Yeah.
Because Popovich usually he likes to have those shooters
Hmm.
and those playmakers at the guard positions, and they tend not to be strong enough for the Kobe's and the Westbrooks of the world.
Yeah.
And the physical dominance of Kobe Bryant over Manu Ginobili was a serious factor.
Hmm.
And Bruce Bowen, as great of a defender as he was, Kobe just figured him out. And Bowen's just not athletic enough to actually stop Kobe Bryant.
Yeah, he's just beating
So
them up. After a while, he's just fouling them. He's just using all your fouls.
yeah, and the same similar thing with Westbrook. Like at this point, I mean, nobody's stopping Westbrook from posting up right now. Like he's the best post up guard in the league. I think Kyrie Irving's in that conversation. Kyrie more from a skill standpoint, Westbrook more from a physical standpoint.
Hmm.
But Westbrook is bodying people down there, and it's a nightmare right now. And I don't think San Antonio could deal with that, particularly when you're throwing Paul George on DeMar DeRozan.
Yeah,
Just
yeah, but I think
sucks for DeMar.
I think Lonnie Walker is an interesting matchup for Westbrook on the defensive end because Lonnie Walker's 6'5", 205, strong, athletic. I'm whenever I can, I'm giving him a look, trying to do his best against Russell Westbrook.
The
So,
problem I think is experience.
oh, absolutely,
What
and he's not going to get
Westbrook
any
is
calls.
correct. He's not going to get calls. Westbrook, despite his offensive struggle, has a lot of tools. He's got Euro step finishes. He knows how to draw fouls. He knows how to post you up. He does have the pull up, and it's a situation where, and it also his passing. And I think Lonnie Walker, for him to have a good defensive series against Westbrook, I think he just needs more NBA games under his belt.
Yeah. But he
in the
physically,
future, maybe, but not
yeah,
this year. Maybe not
physically,
next year, but year after
yeah.
that, maybe.
Physically though, he'd be the guy who
Dude,
I
I've
look at.
watched Westbrook post up Evan Turner. Like
Yeah,
he don't care right now. You know what I'm saying? I'm
yeah,
watching him post up guys 6'5", 6'6", and he's still coming out. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
so. Yeah, I'm so that would be a very interesting matchup going forward. But
yeah.
they got to get through the first round first, and Portland is not an easy out by any
No,
means.
they're not. But
But
yeah,
that sucks for Portland though, because they drew their worst matchup too.
yeah, they
Which is
did.
that's what's funny is that I think Denver and Portland drew their worst matchup.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, definitely. So yeah, the first round should be interesting. It starts on Saturday. Early. The first game is the Sixers and the Nets. I think it's like 1 o'clock Eastern time. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Are you are you are you down with are you adopting the Nets this year?
We mean adopted the Nets.
I mean, because I know the Knicks are your squad.
Yeah, well, the Nets are what I said they were from the beginning.
No,
I'm
I'm talking
from
about are you gonna, is that gonna be
I
your
always root for the Nets. They're a
okay,
hometown team. I'm from Brooklyn,
okay,
right? Like if somebody like where are you from in Chicago?
South side.
South Side. So if they made a specific South Side Chicago basketball team, you would want them to be a good team, right? Like you would want them to, but they're new. Like of course, you can't
Well,
reconfigure
I'm a little
40 years of
strange.
rooting for them.
I'm a little strange because technically I'm supposed to be a White Sox fan, but I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a because the White Sox are the South Side team. The White Sox are actually the team that most black people root for. But I don't hate the White Sox, but I'm a Cubs fan.
But
Whenever,
imagine if they created the White Sox this year, like if they
Mhm.
had never existed, they have no history in your
Right,
town,
right,
which isn't
right,
exactly true for the Nets because we got Dr. J and stuff. But I wasn't
yeah,
born then, so
right.
and that was But yeah, no, I root for the. I've always said the Nets have not won my heart yet, but I want them to do that. I can't sit here and lie and be like, oh, I'm a Brooklyn Nets fan now.
Right.
I'm always going to be a Knicks fan. It's not a competition thing. The only New York team I feel the need to root against is the Jets because they're a horrible blight on the sport of football.
Oh wow.
But yeah, they are. I mean, you've seen them.
They got new jerseys, and new jerseys look nice.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't even want them to be good. I want them to continue to stink because Jets
Wow.
fans are delusional, like Cowboys fans, and they need to learn. Apparently, they don't learn every year, and they have to learn again.
You want it?
But no, the Nets. I would love nothing more than for the Knicks and the Nets to be the best two teams in the league. That'd be great, and I would
That would be amazing for New York.
root for both of them. So yeah, no, I'm pulling for the Nets. I always pull for the Nets. I genuinely like the team right now. Kenny Atkinson is coaching the team well. DAngelo Russell grows with every dribble. Like literally, if you watch him play, he makes so many smart passes throughout the course of a game. It's unreal. People think of him more as a scorer, but he's a true point guard. And they've got a great group of guys, behind him. Harris and Dinwiddie and Allen, and just great organization right now to root for.
Yeah, I would. I think they are a cool team to kind of follow right now. I would agree. I would agree. See, and I think because I just agree with you, I think that is a perfect place to end the show because
Feels wrong, but let's do it.
that 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 is, I think it's just a perfect spot. I mean, we didn't do that a lot today. We did not agree a lot, and
Except for every playoff pick and almost every MMA pick.
yep, no, well, we only did 2 MMA picks.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so we did all right. Would you like to hug? No.
I'm good.
Okay, no
So
problem.
we'll save it. We'll save
No
it for a
problem.
special
No
occasion.
problem. No
If you
problem.
guys, okay, I'll tell you what. You guys get Zion, hug on me.
Oh wow. Oh wow. Oh wow. I almost don't want him now.
Either way, you lose.
Whoo! I kill me. I kill me. All right, everybody. I appreciate you all coming through and staying. If you are one of the 18 that are left here, you guys are fan freaking tastic. You understand me? Do you understand me? You're freaking fantastic. And I'm giving a virtual hug to all 18 of you right now. All right. Well, for Nelson, we would like to say goodbye, and we wave. God bless and peace.